Hey there, it's great that you're curious about abstract street photography. My name is Iris De Pass, and I am the founder of the Academy for Abstract Photography. On Facebook, we have a public group where anyone can join, a photo club called Abstract Photography, and it's a mix of people who are members, including students, graduates, and curious enthusiasts of abstract photography. And every month I organize a challenge. And the last challenge I assigned was abstract street photography, inspired by the challenging event organized by the well-known Framelines Club, which is a renowned club of street photographers who challenged their dedicated members to create a unique and abstract street photo from their street photography endeavors. Well, I saw their submissions and I thought, I wonder if we can make it even more abstract. And it turned out we definitely could. Here I am showing you a selection of 20 photos that I reviewed together with a jury of graduates, and I believe I have created a beautiful story about abstract street photography. So before we get to the photos, let me set the stage so we all understand what this is about. First, I'll bring up the definition of street photography. Street photography is a genre of photography where people in public places, such as streets, parks, and subway stations, are photographed without them being aware of it. In other words, it is about photographing people in an environment. The definition of abstract photography is that it is an art form where the photographed subject is made unrecognizable and subordinate to line, color, shape, light, and texture. This creates a new image with its own artistic expression and power. And if we put them side by side, on the left we have street photography, where we photograph people in their environment, and on the right we have abstract photography, where you want to make everything as unrecognizable as possible. And now we are looking for something that lies right in between, namely capturing people and their environment, but as abstract and unrecognizable as possible. I am excited to show you what abstract street photography is through the eyes of our abstract photographers. And you see a whole range of images, from those where photographers have used techniques to photos where perspective, reflections, or shadows give the image abstract qualities. Here is the first photo, a picture by Afki Buitelar. We see a high vantage point, a bird's eye view, as if we are floating above the earth. And because it's a sunny day, the people we see in the images have shadows. And actually, there is little distinction to be made between the person and the shadow, creating a new form. Additionally, the environment is naturally quite abstract. We see all kinds of patterns. We see a pattern of lines from left to right. Below, we see a pattern of lines, and above, a sort of small staircase that gives the lines a playful interaction with two stubborn shadows still in the frame, and even an extra little person, I think. I also think this is a really nice abstract street photo. In the bottom left corner, we see a person with a helmet who is probably welding off screen, creating this beautiful shower of sparks. The surroundings have a very soft color palette, and there is a beautiful dynamic that goes along with the shower of sparks. I also find the color of the people here very complementary to the image. Here too, a shadow has been used. The person themselves is kept out of the frame, and only the shadow is photographed. I find this detail in the hand quite interesting, as it adds something extra. And furthermore, this photo is really about texture. The environment photographed here, that wall, is interesting because of all the texture that is visible in it. And I really like this photo because it has a very quirky composition. Here is an example of a photo where intentional motion blur has been applied. What I like about this photo is that it was taken with a rotating movement, which is naturally also present in the curves of the wheels. The vertical pattern above, beautifully combined with the horizontal movement below, and then those graceful, cheerful circular motions around it. A beautiful example of a person photographed in an environment while abstraction is applied at the same time. Well, that's also the case here. And of course, we can tell from the pose that it's a person walking here, but the body completely, well, blends into a kind of black and white motion. And a beautiful pattern here at the bottom. Gorgeous photo, Peter. And we move on to the next photo, which also, as you can indeed very clearly see, very clearly shows a shoe in the frame. Furthermore, primarily color fields in the environment, and also here, a kind of halo around the foot in the image. Well, it's very interesting how a small part of a person is captured here, reducing the person essentially to one leg. It's a completely different technique. Hanny wrote that she took this photo somewhere beautiful abroad, where there was a wall with incredibly beautiful and stunning mother-of-pearl-like tiles. And what I really like about this beautiful photo is that the cracks in the tiles actually lead you to this point. You get a kind of star shape. And here, the person is not to be found. The person is found here. It almost runs out of the frame. Well, I also find that a nice effect in the composition. And this photo is especially beautiful because of the colors. Gorgeous. Let's move on to the next photo, people and environment. I assume this is a small harbor. What I like here is, of course, the pattern of the masts, and here a kind of echo of a sort of column. And here, very clearly, those two people in the picture. Beautiful photo, very nice in terms of atmosphere and color. Another ICM photo with clear people and environment, and at the same time, a lot of abstraction in the image. The women here in this photo are all beautiful in those soft pastel tones, and the environment is actually very simple and supports the image beautifully. In this photo, we see a lot of the surroundings, large apartment buildings in the background and people down here in the foreground, where there is actually a kind of U shape that precisely points to these three people. And the person in red is, of course, a real eye catcher here. A double exposure photo, double exposure captured by Franzi Krisnig. And what I really like about this photo is the dynamism. It's a swing ride at a fair, and we see the same ride photographed 3 times in a row with a nice dynamic swing to it. And here we can still see a little person in the picture by their legs. Here too, indeed, a double exposure photograph. Another photo by Will Houtemans. A photo of the Boymans depot in Rotterdam, where people are walking up and down the stairs. And he wrote in the comments that he photographed through this glass, which also gives a bit of that blurry effect. It's indeed nice to see those people popping up in all sorts of different places. It also somehow reminds me a bit of Escher's paintings, where stairs seamlessly and effortlessly flow into each other and never quite stop. A bit more abstract, again with slightly intentional and deliberate motion blur. This photo is beautiful for its color, with that deep dark green in the background, the warm orange, and then those lighter streaks in the foreground. The background, the environment is very supportive of what is in the foreground here, the person. A black and white photo, also with intentional motion blur, taken at the beach. Peter told me that they had a workshop on intentional motion blur and that everyone was photographing the waves with long exposure times. And then he suddenly decided to photograph the people who were taking pictures of that a bit. What I love about this photo is that we have a calm, light upper part and a calm, dark lower part, and that the real magic happens in the middle area. Beautiful contrast here of light reflecting in the scene. And then those dark legs of this person who is most clearly recognizable as a human being, clearly and distinctly. And here we see a kind of echo of those people above the horizon line, which I also find interesting to see. Another black and white photo, also taken with intentional motion blur. Again, in a completely different way. Here, the surroundings are the first thing you notice. It was photographed under a viaduct. The lines of the lights and shadows and reflections give a beautiful swing to the image. And then we see here, if we look closely, 2 human figures in the middle, and I find it beautiful how subtle they are. There is almost no contrast difference between the background and the foreground, but they are there. Person in the natural world, in the environment and surroundings abstracted. Another technique to bring abstraction into your image is used in this photo by Peter. Peter took a photo here in the reflective ceiling of the station in Breda. And what I like about this photo is this is naturally the eye catcher here, this red element, that's where your attention goes first. And the head of this person actually blends into a kind of ventilation grill, which repeats itself in a pattern in this photo. Beautiful colors. I also find that line interesting, which is actually repeated here, that diagonal line with color blocks. Then we move on to the second to last photo. Also a fair, just like the photo by Franzia, a photo by Maya where she photographed a bumper car. We see two people here. The bumper car is heading this way. Here we see an arm. And for the rest, the surroundings and the people are really reduced to colors, lines, and shapes. Absolutely incredibly fantastic photo. And last but not least, this photo by Witzke. A photo of a local market with three people standing in front of it and the stall behind them. I really like how this photo is framed. It's beautiful how this square area has been chosen right in the middle of the photo. And actually, we have been working on how to frame abstract photography within the context of street photography. Well, I hope I have inspired you and hopefully given you some more interesting ideas on how to capture people and their surroundings while still being able to create abstract photos. We now have a new challenge, the Summer Photo Challenge. So come take a look. You are definitely warmly welcome to join our photo club. And if you would like to learn more about abstract photography, try our free trial lessons. I wish you lots of success and, of course, many beautiful things. Bye bye.